fact, only to find out much later in life that what you believed was wrong all along. And it wasn't even your fault, because this is something that everyone around you was saying was true too. And then you think, crap, if only I had known the truth. If I hadn't accepted the conventional wisdom and looked into this for myself, maybe I would have made different decisions in my life. Some of these myths aren't really that harmful. They're like the Santa Claus myth. Not a big deal. Everyone tells you he's real. Doesn't mean he actually is. Some of them can cause massive devastation, like the belief that vaccines cause autism. But there's some right in the middle that will degrade your quality of life without you even realizing it. And it's one of these beliefs that I have a particular beef with. So I'm going to start fighting with it today. It is the myth of happily ever after. This is the myth that ends many of our favorite fairy tales and a lot of Disney movies. It is the myth that a marriage can only be successful if the people stay together forever. Now, I don't deny that there are couples who really do stay together their entire lives, and good for them, proud of them. But more often than not, people change over time. They grow and they develop, and any growth is a change. And sometimes people change kind of in the same path, and that's great. But lots of times, people grow and develop and kind of, veer off over time. And eventually they find out they're not really the best match for each other anymore. What now? The traditional answer is they stay together anyway. If they split up now, that's considered a failed marriage, even if it's a happy divorce. Think about that for a second. The only way to have a successful marriage ending is if one of the participants dies. Maybe that worked well in the pre-industrial age, when people lived to their mid-30s or mid-40s, and all you had to do was wait for the next big plague to come along. But nowadays, I'm of the opinion this leads to untold suffering. People find themselves chained to marriages that don't fit them anymore. And they just get more and more bitter as time goes on, because they've been told they gotta stay together. Until eventually things deteriorate to the point where the dam breaks open and the whole thing explodes in a huge, messy divorce. Imagine the misery that could have been saved if they'd only broken up when the arrangement was no longer beneficial to them. Often these couples stay together for the children, as if they're doing their kids a favor. And no. As a kid of one such couple, I can tell you that kids know when their parents are miserable together, and it does not lead to a great childhood. The children would also be better off if the parents split up and had happy, fulfilling lives. The idea that forcing unhappy parents to stay together for the sake of the children is a good thing is actually a terribly damaging lie and has been poisoning our society for decades. Centuries, probably. I have a friend who recently divorced her husband. They are still best friends. In fact, they are still roommates. Compare that to my parents, who are going to be celebrating their 40th anniversary not too long from now. My friend's marriage is considered a failure, whereas my parents' marriage is considered a success, when it should be the other way around. And the problem isn't just a social one. The legal system is set up against same divorces as well. You can go down to a courthouse any business day, and in a matter of a few minutes sign a single piece of paper, pay a fee less than the cost of a dinner out, and be married. I know because I've done it. But if you want to get a divorce, you have to sign mountains of paperwork, get all sorts of legal declarations, wait for 3 months during a waiting period, which I don't know why that exists. If you're going to get divorced, 3 months isn't going to change anything. And it costs in the low hundreds of dollars. I know because I've done that as well. And that's only if neither side decides to involve lawyers, which can just be disastrous. Everything gets exponentially worse. Getting a divorce in America is a nightmare. The solution, in my opinion, is a two-pronged one. First, we should all accept that all relationships end eventually, and celebrate happy separations. Relationships should be judged on how healthy they are, not how long they've been legally bound. Second, marriage contracts should be term contracts. They should have a hard expiration date, in my opinion, about 5 years, after which time the two parties can re-up for another 5 if they want to. Yes. Sadly, I am not King of America yet, so I can't do this, make this a policy on a large scale. I can, however, steer my own life and encourage all of you as well. I, for one, do not want to be with anyone who doesn't actively want to be with me as well. Nor do I want to be with someone who would rather see me chained to them than to actively want to be with them. Therefore, my fiancé and I have this agreement that after 5 years of marriage, we will divorce, reassess where we are, and then get remarried if we want to keep going. Unfortunately, this is not a legally binding agreement because I looked into this and it turns out that's against the marriage laws in Colorado. But at least it's an understanding between equals. For anyone who thinks they may ever grow and change in their life, I strongly recommend at least bringing up this idea to your significant other. If you can do it in seriousness, awesome. If not, just tell them about this boorish, crazy guy in your ToastMasters and laugh it off. At least the idea will be there, and maybe in the future it'll come in useful.